Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Roast here with Jessica Bun Bun, and this is our reaction and review for Bad Sisters Season 2, Episodes 1 and 2. This is a top 10 show for me. So far, we're only
Oh,
2 episodes in here. I don't want to just like get on the horse and ride into the sunset without seeing the rest of it, but I have been kicking myself ever since Jess first brought this show up to me, and I hadn't seen the first season. I binge watched the first season, and I was like, why didn't I watch this when it was on? How dumb of a decision was that? Because this show, it's incredible. If you're not watching it, it's on Apple TV Plus. You need to watch it.
no, it's incredible. This show takes huge swings that have all paid off
Yeah.
in huge dividends so far throughout the first season. I mean, the twists and turns of season one, they were just beautiful. We're only 2 episodes in, and already I'm like, who's in the trunk? What's happened to Grace? I can't even believe the things that they have done already in season two and 2 episodes. We need to be buckled up for this season. It is excellent. If you are not watching Bad Sisters and you're someone who just enjoys watching Matt and I, if you are looking for a really good whodunit thriller, this show is so up your alley. Like, go back and take a watch of season one. It is well worth your time.
I never imagined that an Irish dark comedy about a group of sisters would be this just thoroughly compelling, but it's just so well written, so well acted.
Yes.
It's very deep. It's very easy to get attached to these characters right away. And yeah, we're coming out of these first 2 episodes, and silly me, here I was being like, okay, season 1 was tied together so well. We didn't necessarily need to have another season, but now I'm just so grateful that we do.
Yeah, we didn't need it, but we need it. Like, we need it.
Yes, that is it.
So before we get into who's in the trunk, because
Yeah.
that is definitely the mystery that is going on right now, please hit that subscribe button. It is a great way to make sure that you're here with us every week for all of our Bad Sisters reviews. We have a lot of other really fun stuff going on at the channel and coming up at the channel. We're still covering From this season. We've got Yellowstone that just started up, Silos coming up. We've got Dexter coming up. There's so many really great shows that are going to be here, and it really helps us if you hit that subscribe button. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and if you guys do want to support us further, be sure to join our Patreon. We have a link in the description below for that. And we've got a pretty busy month on Patreon as well, with us taking on a couple of shows that'll have exclusive videos there, including Landman on Paramount Plus, and then also Dune Prophecy, which is premiering very soon on HBO and Max. So thank you guys so much for your support on Patreon. That helps us to be able to do everything that we can for you guys.
Okay, this season starts off with the four sisters minus Grace
Yeah.
in a car that they don't seem to own because they're driving it where they're not familiar with this car
Yeah.
in the middle of the night at a cliffside. Becca looks like she's been punched in the face. We
Yeah.
don't know why or what has happened at this point yet, but we see the trunk open just a little bit. It looks like there is a body in the back that is wrapped up in some fuzzy looking cow blanket.
Yeah.
Let's get into who is in the trunk. I think we both agree that the most likely person
Mhm.
is one of my favorite actresses of all time, Fiona Shaw, who is playing Angelica.
Angelica is an amazing addition to this show, and I sit here
Yes.
fully on Hypocrite Hill because my opinions about Carolyn, her character on Killing Eve, have been very well documented that character stinks, and I think a
Love her.
lot of people
Love it.
assume that just meant that I was a Fiona Shaw hater. I am not. I am a Carolyn hater. Fiona Shaw
How dare you?
has been great on a lot of other stuff. She was in True Detective Night Country, which also a top 10 show for me this year.
Yeah.
And she's really good in these first couple of episodes as this woman who has been introduced as Roger's sister, fittingly, family being thrown in here. Again, somebody who clearly does not have a lot going on, who is very concerned about Roger and what he's holding on to, but above all else, she's just the nosy bee. She's just getting in everybody's. And we've all known a character like this. And that's one of the million reasons this show is so good, is that I think
Yeah.
we can relate to almost everybody, good or bad, we are seeing on screen.
Yeah, and it seems like after what Grace and Roger did together, that Roger, to me, tinfoil hat, I
Yeah.
know Angelica's trying to be like, Roger told me everything. I don't think
Yeah.
Roger actually told her anything. I think that she knows that she was kind of close with Grace a little bit after everything happened. And then Grace started to pull back because Angelica is a nosy bee and she's so in her business and she was suffocating her that Grace started to pull back. But I think she sees her brother is becoming a shell of himself. He really is in his feelings and drowning in his guilt of what
Yeah.
he did and how he participated in what happened to JP, that his sister is seeing this happen and is like, it's the Garvey sisters' fault that this is happening. I was close with Grace and now she's pulling away. It's all these sisters are doing this to my brother. It's their fault. And that's why we see her taking jabs and, pushing Ava out of the way to get to the bouquet and making comments to, BB's wife about children and the donor egg and all these things, and really trying to mess around with these sisters' lives in ways that really affect them. And they haven't done anything to her, but she is definitely filling that JP role where she is starting to mess around with their lives in a significant, meaningful way that I could easily see them deciding that Angelica just needs to go.
Yeah, she's just way too messy. She's way too upfront about a lot of it. She
Yep.
doesn't know how to be discreet at all. Every person in this Garvey family already kind of knows that, okay, this woman is a problem. And that's without us even knowing what happens with the trunk. But beyond the obvious motive here of, okay, Angelica's inevitably going to figure out more and more stuff over time. They're going to suspect that she's going to blow up their entire family. They're going to get desperate. And there's obviously a lot to talk about there. There's also just the meta conversation that, Fiona Shaw is not necessarily like an A-list celebrity, but she is an A-list character actor. Like, she is one of the number one people that if you have a prestige show, you are going to beg and plead for her to be on it. And Bad Sisters, as much as we adore it, this is still kind of a small show. She's not going to be in a season 3, people. Like, let's be realistic here. This has to just be a one season arc. And if that's the case, you give her the biggest possible story to do, which is the one that ends up with her being killed.
Yeah, Fiona Shaw is S tier. She is the top. If you have a prestige show, you're going to get her.
Yeah.
Angelica already is a pretty terrible character. She is doing some pretty nasty things to the Garvey sisters. I am a bunny mom for anyone who is new to the channel. If you've been with me for a while, then you already know this, that I have a bunny. Her name is Miss Fifi Fontaine. You can follow us over on our Instagram at Matt and Just TV to check out little
Yeah.
Miss Fifi Fontaine. But Angelica has like 3 rabbits that are all sitting in a tiny cage, which is like something that you should never do to a 1 rabbit,
Yeah.
let alone 3 rabbits. Like, they can very easily free roam your house. They're litter trained. They're like quiet cats. There's no reason for this. But the thing that's making me very worried that something is going to happen to these bunnies is the beginning credits start with this rabbit as like rabbit head on
Yeah.
the wall getting shot. So I'm putting on my hard hat
Yeah.
that something is going to happen to these bunnies.
There's reasons to be worried about multiple animals from this theme song. I mean, the theme song we learned from season 1 is really, really important. And this is not one you can just like press the fast forward over, because there's also
No.
turtle sightings throughout this.
Let's talk about the turtles.
Yeah.
Because another person that could be in this trunk is Ian. And this is Grace's now husband. We saw her engaged at the beginning of these episodes. She got married, and Grace has turtles. She's a turtle mom. And we saw that there's this pen that she has out in the backyard that's filled with sand, and it looks like it's more than big enough to have a body under it. They have shown these turtles, this pen, her using a hand spade and digging, and even some of the promotional art, you've seen her have this like hand spade there is somebody buried under these turtles. Now, is it Ian or somebody else? We don't know at this point. But what we do know is that Grace told Ian what she did to JP.
Yep.
And understandably, he had this reaction where he was like, I'm going to take a drive. Like, I need a minute.
Yeah.
I will come back. Grace pounds him in his back, which
Yeah.
is enough for him to turn around very worried, to be wondering if he could be next because she's struck him now. And we don't know what's happened to him. He's been missing for days now.
Yeah.
Days. So is he the person who's in the trunk? They definitely want us to believe that it's possible. He's been missing for days.
Yes.
There's this secret phone that was found in the toilet. There's bloody clothes. Like, we saw her pound on his back. They want us to believe that it's him.
Yeah, the biggest thing is that we know that Grace is capable of this because she killed JP. Now we can sit back and be like, okay, JP did a million horrible things to her.
And Ian hasn't done anything.
Yeah, that's just the thing. Ian hasn't done anything, and yeah, but she's capable of it, and that's where the troublesome part of this starts to become mixed in. Like, I don't think it's Ian, just because to me, it's going to be more interesting to have Ian show up a little bit later as potential jeopardy for the Garvey sisters.
Yeah, because they don't know that he knows.
Yeah.
Grace has revealed to her sisters that Roger was involved with helping cover up JP, something that they didn't know. And she has told them a lot of stuff, but she didn't tell them that Ian knows.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest hanging chads right now. And I think whoever they take out is somebody who they feel like is an immediate problem that has to be taken care of, and that they're also willing to dump the body in this sort of haphazard way. And it's just, they would not have any affection towards Fiona Shaw. They don't have any love lost with her and everything that she is doing. It is the easiest to buy for me that they would do this, because we have to make this clear here. Did the Garvey sisters spend a lot of season 1 talking about killing JP? Yes. Did they actually do it? No, these are not people who have actually killed before.
Okay, but they definitely tried.
They tried.
That cabin went up in flames.
They
Like,
just
they
didn't
just
achieve the
missed.
job.
Okay, so the last person that could be in this trunk right now is Roger. I mean, Roger is carrying this guilt really badly, and he has told Grace that he can't handle it anymore and that he thinks he's going to go to police about it. He just needs to unburden himself. He understands that it puts her in jeopardy and everybody in jeopardy, but he just feels like he can't handle it. And the Garvey sisters did get together with him and was like, hey, let's, you're going to put everybody in jeopardy. Like, come on, man. Like, you can do this. Like, we'll be here for you to help you through it. And it seems like he might have been sort of okay, but he's still not handling it very well. He is somebody that can take them down.
He is, and he is a very worrisome person because he's a pretty worrisome human. This is a guy who is struggling a lot in his own head. I mean, in some ways, I'll admit, I'm probably more similar to him than almost anybody else on this show, because I overthink and overthink and overthink everything. And on top of all that, he's got one of the hardest secrets known to mankind that he has just been tasked with, that he has to deal with it. I would buy that it was Roger and that this was a big emotional reveal later, just because Roger is a character who's been around both seasons. To see the Garveys do this to him, that's a bigger shock than it necessarily is Fiona Shaw. The way that I'm just looking at this story personally is, it's a little bit of a whodunit, but it's more of a why done it? Why did it get to this point that they feel like they have to do this?
Was anyone else surprised that Grace was not marrying Roger?
Oh.
I love Roger and Grace. That was really a highlight for me, knowing what Grace was going through with JP. All the little moments, like watching Grace and Roger dancing on the lawn together, I was just like, these two make so much sense. And I'm guessing because of what they did, that it made it more difficult for them to then look at each other with a bit of that just innocence and wholesome feeling of like, hey man, our future could be so bright and beautiful, except we're holding on to this really dark secret. When they were first like, oh, she's engaged, I was like, oh, this better be Roger.
Okay, let's send a message here to Sharon Horgon, who, for those who don't know, is the creator of Bad Sisters. She also plays Eva on the show. You are off somewhere laughing maniacally to yourself after these 2 episodes. You let us have this fake happiness with this wedding after everything Grace has gone through. We're sitting here being like, oh, look at this. She's finally having something. Then Ian leaves. Then you kill Grace at the end of episode 2. I knew something was wrong when she wasn't there at the trunk sequence. I was like pausing it, looking, like, oh, Grace isn't here. What does that mean? I didn't think you guys were going to kill her in episode 2.
I was shocked. And listen, I know that this is TV and no body, no death. That absolutely happens, and that could be happening. Could be happening here.
Yeah.
So small. The reaction of having the cop car pull up and her daughter's in the back and bawling, and we see Eva come out and the look on her face and just collapsing to the ground. That's not the look or a reaction of somebody who's like, let's go to the hospital.
No, it feels
Grace is dead.
I don't know how they don't make her dead at this point, because I don't think Bad Sisters is that sort of show that's going to have zombie Grace walk around in the next episode. Like, this is pretty realistic. I mean, yeah, funny at times, but still kind of realistic to a world where these things could happen. What happened to her on the road? I mean, so many people do die that way. I'm going into episode 3 with that assumption, and if that's not the case, like, I will be genuinely surprised.
I will be shocked, and they will have to really explain this away in a way that's believable after seeing Eva's reaction that Grace isn't actually dead. Like, they're going to really have to explain that to me, because if she was just in the hospital, she'd be getting in her car, she'd be headed off. But the fact that the daughter's being pulled up here with police officers, like, Grace is not here anymore. There's no way.
Okay, let's just take a moment here before we get into everything else with the episode and talk about favorites, or to be specific, my favorite character on Bad Sisters, and it is not close, and that is BB. I know let us know in the comments who your favorite sister is. Like, for me, it's BB. I mean, personally, for those who don't know, I am blind in one eye. I cannot see out of my right eye. This one is no good. Even if I'm wearing glasses, that does not mean that it works. It's all blurry over there. Now, I don't wear an eye patch, mostly just because of the fact that I still need to see out of my other eye. My vision's not good in that eye either. And then I would have to wear a contact, and contacts dry out my eyes to beyond all reason. And I already have really, really dry eyes. But anyway, where I'm going with this is just that anytime on TV a character has an eye patch, it's either a joke or they're evil, or you think that they're evil. And I mean, if it turned out Richard Kind and Only Murders in the Building wasn't evil, but like definitely, they played around with that for a while, and they really made you worry. I just really like that there is a character on TV that this is a part of who she is, but she's not defined by it at all. She's just doing all this other awesome stuff. Plus, I just love her because she's so aggro at times. Like last season with JP, she was really leading the charge off him at one point. I was like, okay, whoa, slow down here, BB. But at the same time, I was like, I kind of get it. You're just trying to protect your sister, and yeah, you're trying to make moves before somebody else does something.
No, I totally get her leading the charge on that. She was right.
Yeah.
And, I stand with BB on that, but Eva's my favorite. But yeah, let us know who is your favorite in the comments. I will say that I wish that they would do more with Ursula. I know that last season she was having the affair and everything that was going on. This season, it seems like she's either separated or divorced. Donald has moved on with somebody else. And she's now really struggling with that, with her family having been pulled apart because of what she has done. And she's dealing with the consequences of that. But I am really hoping that they have more to do with her this season.
Now, every single season of Bad Sister, seemingly, we don't know how long this is going to go, but every season so far has had opposition because somebody always got to be looking into the sisters. Last season, it was the life insurance. This time around, we have the police involved, and that is gonna be a problem, guys.
Yeah, Detective Loftus is back, and he was on the case a little bit last season.
Yeah.
He basically made it okay that JP was exhumed and that they went through everything, found nothing, closed it up. And then, as it turns out, we have George in the suitcase has now popped up
Yeah.
on JP's parents' property. And who's brought back in? Detective Loftus. And he is now really getting it from the higher ups that were like, guy, you had an opportunity already to have figured out a whole bunch of this. George was in a suitcase in pretty shallow water on the land that you investigated and looked into, and you couldn't find this. But like the gardeners that are out here trying to like get the new land together found this. This is not a good look, and you really have to get it together now.
Here is exactly why I don't think he's going to get it together now, and while I think we're going to see bumbling Loftus for a little bit of this season, if he could not discover George's body in season 1, why am I going to have any confidence in the world that this dude is going to be able to piece together anything? And beyond that,
Yeah.
who's going to be rooting for that? I don't think any of us want to see any of these sisters go to prison.
No, and here's the thing is that the person who was involved in this is Grace is gone.
Yeah.
So while he's starting to thread some things together to be like, okay, maybe it wasn't, what it looks like, because Grace is saying, oh, well, he did this to himself. And it's like, okay, but he was on like this AVT and the scarf got caught. And like you said, it was an accident. And now you're like, oh no, this was on purpose. And he did this to himself. None of it makes any sense. He's really starting to look into it deeper and thinking that maybe Grace had something to do, but Grace is gone now. So where does that lead this investigation into what now? The sisters didn't actually do this.
One of the things that I love the most about this show, beyond the 800 things we've talked about already, is that it's just the community is so insular in a way. And that adds this weird sort of stakes because everybody kind of sort of knows everybody, even if you don't have a deep personal connection with them. And I think that's going to complicate this investigation on an extreme level just because people's feelings are going to get caught up in it, and there's going to be these myth perceptions, and there's going to be infighting, and I just think the setting is such an interesting character on this show, even the way in which the Garveys interact with it. Like, everybody's always running, sometimes on the beach, and I'm just sitting back and being like, is this really relaxing, you guys, at this point? You're really, really stressed that this just seems like a distraction from the important stuff that's going on, but it's such a way of life, and the community is a way of life of them, and they can't change their appearance or look like they're anything different than who they are because everybody talks.
I just like that this season has already set up that even if Grace isn't with us anymore, that there are so many different roads that are all starting to like come towards the Garvey sisters, because not only do they have to deal with Detective Loftus and what's going on here with George and JP and what he did and all of that stuff and what Grace did, we also have Angelica out here now claiming that she knows stuff, whether she does or not. I don't think so. My tinfoil hat is she's fishing. She thinks she's put things together, but she has, but she doesn't have confirmation of it. Grace never confirmed anything to her. And then you have Roger out here who's just like not dealing with his guilt very well. And Ian, who's probably not dead and absolutely knows the truth because Grace confessed it to him. And who is buried under the turtles? Somebody is buried under those turtles.
Listen, I just love turtles.
I know you do.
Don't let anything happen to the turtles. It's like you're afraid of the rabbits. I'm afraid for the rabbits too. I'm also very, very afraid for the turtles. Now, this season, so far, it feels kind of like you watch a superhero movie and you go into the second movie and they're just sort of like, okay, now we need the Joker and we need Mr. Freeze. We need multiple villains. And it's this time around, you've just got so many different people possibly looking in on the sisters that were kind of just walking on eggshells, waiting for somebody to freak out. And we don't know who that somebody's going to be. We don't know when it's going to happen, but we know it's coming, and it's just sort of a matter of when.
Yeah, but because these four sisters didn't actually kill JP and they weren't involved in setting it up to look like an accident or any of this other stuff, yes, they did attempts, but nobody knows that.
Yeah.
They technically haven't killed anybody. So even as everybody's coming towards them, they still are able to rest on the fact that they actually didn't kill anybody
No, they're
yet.
yeah. But things are going to get interesting. Things are going to get messy. Just what a great first two episodes of this season.
Amazing.
Justified, their existence right away. But rest assured, we will be back to talk a lot more about Bad Sisters season 2. So hit that subscribe button so you guys don't miss any of that. And you can support us further. Join our Patreon. We've got a link in the description. Both Dune Prophecy and Landman exclusive videos coming there. And we'll see you here next time.